Good afternoon, and welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I am your host, Kevin King. He is I, and I am him, the 800 Credit Score Man himself. And again, thank each and every one of you for coming in and listening to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. You know that I truly, truly appreciate it. So look, what are we going to talk about today? Today, we're going to discuss basically restoring your credit. What do you need to really go ahead and restore your credit? I read several articles this week in preparation for this particular show, and so we're going to talk about how to go ahead and do it basically once and for all. You're going to restore your credit, and then you're going to maintain it as well. So we're going to talk about several things that go into that. We also will delve in a little bit into how long do things stay on your credit report a little bit, as well as, how long does it take you to go ahead and restore your credit? I get that question often, especially from people that give me a call and they want to, buy something relatively soon. They want to get in the house in the next 6 months. Then, I get a call all the time that say, hey, I want to buy a house by the end of the year. Well, at this point, we're in the month of July. So we're in July, so that means that end of the year is coming up. You got 5-6 months. So I get those kind of questions all the time. So we're going to talk a little bit about how long does it actually take you to actually go ahead and have your credit restored. And I'll tell you right now, just up front a little bit, you got to have a little patience. You didn't get into this mess overnight, so you're probably not going to get out of it in overnight as well. So we're going to discuss that today on the 800 Credit Score Man Show. And again, thank each and every one of you guys for coming in and listening to the show. I hope you had a wonderful 4th of July. I hope you had a lot of barbecue and whatever else goes on with you and your 4th of July celebration, fireworks, all that kind of stuff. So, hey, let's jump into the show a little bit. So let me give this shout out. I got to give a shout out to these twins. They're 7 years old. They celebrated their birthday earlier this week. That's London and Landon. So happy birthday to you guys. Happy birthday. I got to give a shout out to Jazz Townsend. She celebrates her 20th birthday today. So happy 20th birthday to you, Jazz. And since I'm talking about today, there's a couple more birthdays that happened today. That's Travis Ray. He's one of my frat brothers. So happy birthday to you, Travis. And also Alvin Pike. Alvin Pike celebrates a birthday today as well. So happy birthday to you all. All right, so let's jump into what we're going to talk about today. So since we're talking about repairing your credit and getting it done once and for all, like, okay, you've been through this before. You've been through it before. You repaired your credit. You cleared up some things on your credit report. Your score went up, and then you went and qualified for whatever it is you wanted to do. If that was buy a car or a house or whatever it was, and then something else happens again, and you fall back in to bad credit as well. And then maybe you do a couple of more things, and you get back on track again. But you keep going in this cycle that keeps you from having and maintaining good credit scores. So we're going to discuss that today. So you can do it, you can follow, you can maintain, and all of those things. All right. So, of course, what you want to do, one of the first things you want to do, you got to get your credit report, right? So you want to get your credit report. You can get it from, I don't care where you get your credit report from, as long as it doesn't cost you a dime to get it. I am a big proponent of you not paying additional money that you don't need to. So you can find your credit report several places where it doesn't cost you a dime. It's going to be accurate. We're talking about your credit report, not necessarily your score. So let's not focus on the score right now. We're going to focus on you getting your credit report. So you know that www.annualcreditreport.com gets you your free credit report once every year or once on a 12-month rolling basis. So you want to go get your credit report. You can get it from TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, all in the same location. You go there and you'll be able to get your credit report. Now, if you've already gotten your credit report in that 12-month time frame and you can't get it again, then go ahead and sign up for one of those free services. I'm talking a place like Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, Quizzo. Credit.com is free, I believe. So go get you a free credit report. If you want to pay for one later on down the line because you feel there's some benefit at a different website or whatever, perfectly fine if that's what you want to do. However, to start off, go get your free credit report. So you're going to go get your free credit report, And so then after you get that, you're going to take a look at it. Make sure that everything is accurate on your credit report. I'm talking from the rooter to the tutor. So when it comes up and it's got your name up there, make sure your name is spelled right. Now, I got a simple name, Kevin King. If you spell Kevin King wrong, you got an issue. So if you got a difficult name, make sure this is spelled correctly. I've seen people, Michael. Michael is a very simple name to spell, but I've seen it misspelled, Micheal instead of the other way around plenty of times. So make sure that it's accurate on your credit report. Your address, all of those things, make sure they're accurate. But even more importantly than that information is the account information. So make sure that your accounts are on there. If you've got an older account, maybe you don't remember, or maybe you don't know that actually your JCPenney card is not being looked at or not being serviced by JCPenney's actually. It might be actually serviced by Synchrony Bank or somebody like that. So just make a look at it and be detail oriented when you do so to find out that everything is correct on your credit report. Make sure that's the case. If it's not, contact me. Contact me 800 at creditscoreman.com is the email. You can send me an email there. I'll get back to you on if it's something that's not correct. You might want to ask a question or anything of that nature. 800 at creditscoreman.com. You can email me there. So you want to do that. Then you want to take a look at your credit cards. So break it down for yourself. So start writing it down. Get you a legal pad, a 3-ring binder, or some Mead paper, whatever it is. Get you a piece of paper, write it on a napkin. I don't care. I'm actually looking at a napkin of scribbles that I did for this show itself. So I created this show, talked about this show, and put my bullet points down when I was actually sitting somewhere having breakfast, and I have it on a napkin. So I want you to go ahead and get a piece of paper, write all of your credit card stuff down. So let's talk about this. You're going to write down your credit card stuff. Make sure you write down how much the limit is and then what your balance is per the credit bureau. So I'm not going to be concerned right this moment on what you say your balance is unless it's really, really different. If it shows it's a $20 difference on your credit report versus what you actually show as a balance, that's not a big deal. Maybe the credit bureau hasn't updated and they shouldn't be as up to date as your actual credit account. If it's a $400 difference, then that's something you want to look at. But if it's just a few bucks, then don't worry about that part right now. That's not the focus. I need you to stay focused on what you're trying to do. So you want to write down all of your credit card information. You're going to write down, how long it's been open. You want to write down the limit, and you want to write down the balance on your credit cards. So once you do that, I want you to figure out your debt utilization. Now, if you go back to one of these places like Credit Karma or any one of those other places, they'll actually do the calculation for you. So then it might be even simpler for you. They'll do the calculation for you what your debt utilization is. And your debt utilization is a percentage. It's the percentage of balance that you actually owe versus what your credit limits are. So as an example, yet again, if you got $10,000 worth of balances, worth of limits, you got $10,000 worth of limits. It doesn't matter if it's over 5 cards or just 2 cards, doesn't matter. But you have $10,000 worth of limits and you owe as a total on all of the cards, whether it's 5 cards or 2 cards, $2,000. If that's the case, you have a 20% debt utilization. So you're going to figure that out. All you got to do is take the amount of balance and divide it by the limit. You're going to take the balance and you're going to divide it by the limit. That's going to give you point something, 0.20000 in this particular example. And then that means you got to move that decimal point 2 places over to the right. Sounds like math class, and you got 20%. So that's where you're at. So you'll have that. So figure out your debt utilization. You want to do that, and we'll come back to this because that's a big thing when it comes to repairing your credit. Because sometimes you're stuck. You've actually paid on time, and you've been a good steward over your credit overall, but your credit score isn't moving, or is really or is low, and you don't know why it's not getting up. Some of the time, most of the time that I look at it, and you've had good payment history and whatnot, oftentimes what happens is that you have a large amount of debt. And when you have a large amount of debt on your credit report, it does drag down your credit score. So you're going to do that. All right, so once you've done that, you've got your utilization going as well. Then you want to look at your accounts and see what does it say about your payment history. So I don't care which format you look at, you will see the opportunity to see a bunch of green checks or whatever it is, or maybe you see a bunch of red X's, which means you didn't make a payment that particular month. But look and see what your payment history is like. Make sure that all of those things are correct. As a matter of fact, if it just says that you've done good, then boom, move to the next one. Just go ahead and move to the next one. Now, if you find that red X somewhere and it says, "Up, you missed the payment," make note of that. Make note that you missed the payment. We're going to come back to that too. Make note that you missed the payment, what month it was, all of those things. Make note of that. Also, when you're looking at your accounts, it'll give you an area that'll say that talks about your payment history, and you will see 30, 60, and 90, something of that nature in most of the websites that you'll look at. You'll see 30, 60, 90, and then you may see a 0, and you'll see a backslash or a forward slash actually, and then you'll see another 0 and a forward slash and another 0. And then, so that means you have 0, 30 days late, you got 0, 60 days late, and you got 0, 90 days late. Some of them go 30, 90, 120. So you have 0, 30 days late, 0, 90 days late, and 0, 120 days late. That's good for you. That's very good for you. Some of you will have a 2 at the front. That means you were 30 days late twice, at least. You were 30 days late twice. So you'll have those kinds of things on your credit report. So make sure you go and you look at each one of those accounts and see what they are. I just want you to notate them. You're going to come back to them, and we're going to talk about trying to get those late payments removed from your credit report. So you want to do those things as well. So once you do all of those, you're doing great. You're doing great. You're looking at your credit report, and we're going to talk about how you can start to repair some of these things as well. Now, let's keep in mind that your credit age, yes, your credit age, or how long you've actually had credit is actually the average length of time that you've had credit. So we're going to look at that as well. You want to see that. Again, if you go to any one of these websites, they'll give it to you for free. They'll tell you what your average credit age is. It's very difficult to try to figure out on your own. If you got to take your oldest account, your youngest account, and everything in between and try to figure them out by month and how many years, it's difficult to figure out on your own. But if you sign up with the Credit Karma, something like that, then they'll tell you what your average length of history is or your credit age. Having a good credit age is imperative as well. So it's 15% of your credit score. That is the third highest factor in your credit score. So it's 15% of your score. So it's good to have a longer credit age. How do you get a longer credit age? Let me just break it down right now. How do you get a longer credit age? Well, you may be thinking, hey, I had my first credit card when I was 18, but now I'm 40. So I've got a long credit history. That's not necessarily the case. Maybe you got your first 4 or 5 cards, when you were 18, 20, 21, 22. Then you got a card, 25, that you had to finance finally. And then now you're 40. But at age 38, 39, and 40, you got 2 more cars. You bought a house. You got another credit card because you had to finance some stuff to put in your new house. So then your credit age could be very, very short, because when you take the average of 18 years ago with an account that you still have open, and then now that you're 40 years old, then they're going to average those things. But the last 3 years, you've opened up 4 or 5 different accounts. That's going to make your credit age young. So if you have a young credit age, that's not good for your credit score. The longer your credit age or your credit age, then the better it is for you. So what you're going to do to help you with your credit age is, one, when you're evaluating all of these things on your credit report, do not close those old accounts. So if you got credit cards and you've had that one credit card, those 2, 3 credit cards since you were 18, 20, and 22, then you don't want to close those cards. You can close those cards if there's an issue with them. You have an issue with them, or they have a high interest rate on them. You've asked them to lower your interest rate and they refuse to do so, and you just ticked off at them. You want to close them. You can close them. Just know that it might come with a quote unquote penalty to your credit score. So make sure that you take a look at the credit age. So you're gonna keep those